Welcome everyone to SlabStox 101 educational video series. I'm your host Nate, and today we're going to be talking about price discrepancies amongst comparable grades from PSA and BGS. We're leaving SGC out of this one. I know we talked about SGC in the last video, but PSA and BGS are the kings of the grading world, and so we are going to be comparing their two cards. As many of you are probably watching this are new investors, new collectors in the sports card world, you probably look at grades and you're saying to yourself, now, what is the difference between a PSA 9 and BGS 9? How can I compare a PSA 10 to a BGS 9.5 or a BGS 10? What can I do here? How can I learn this? And this is for you just to be so you can know on a very high level what the differences are in these grades between the two companies. So I've got this broken down into 4 tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And these are the tiers where the grades are comparable. Tier 1 is BGS 10 Black Label. It's in a tier of its own. As you know, if you watched last video, BGS 10 Black Label is 4 10s for the subgrades on a BGS card, and then they're given a Black Label. It's the holy grail of graded cards, and it's also probably a gimmick because it involves the subjection of the grader to what your card is going to get. Maybe the grader is feeling pretty good that day, and he decides that your corners are in fact a 10 instead of a 9.5, and instead of a BGS 10, you got a BGS 10 Black Label because you got 4 10s instead of 3s. It's probably not a real thing. It was probably just made so that BGS could get some hype around the hobby by being like, oh, I could get a BGS 10 Black Label. I'm going to send it into BGS. Which, it's worked for them. But the idea that there's any card that is completely flawless, probably not true considering, how they are handled in the factories and then packaged up and then sent to shops and opened up and then put into sleeves and put into cases or put into cardboard boxes and then put into sleeves and cases later and then mailed to the grading companies and taken out and handled and looked at. I just have a hard time believing that there is any quote unquote perfect card out there. But people love paying for BGS 10 Black Labels, and so we have it number 1 on the list. Tier 2 is a BGS 10, not a Black Label, just a 10. And you'll remember from the last video that is 3 10s and 1 9.5 for the subgrades. And that is a little bit more expensive than a PSA 10, which is why it's not in the same category. After that, we have Tier 3, which is PSA 10 and BGS 9.5. PSA 10 is the top grade for PSA. BGS 9.5 obviously lower than 10s, and you have varying levels of 9.5s. You've got the Gem Mint, which is 3 9.5s and a 9 for a subgrade, and then you got the Gem Mint Plus, which would be a 10 or 2 10s and a 9. 1 10 and 3 9.5s or 2 10s and 2 9.5s, all Gem Mint Plus. And then lastly, you have Tier 4, which is PSA 9 and BGS 9. I didn't go any lower than that because these are really the only grades you need to know about unless you're looking at really old cards. Not many people will buy a PSA 8 of a new card unless it's something rare like a Lamar Jackson Prism Silver or something like that. But we didn't need to get into it in this little video. PSA 9 and BGS 9 are comparable. There's a little bit of price discrepancy there, but for the most part, very comparable grades there. Now, we won't get too much into the details there, but to give you an idea of the price differences here, I grabbed Luka Doncic Prism Green rookie for all of the grades listed except for PSA 9 and BGS 9 because I could not find a BGS 9 Prism Green. So we moved to a Prism base card for that, but you can still get the same picture. So a BGS 10 Black Label for Luka Prism Green rookie sold on September 22nd for $13,600. $13,600. To put that in perspective, a BGS 9.5 sold for $14.95. So a BGS 10 Black Label is 10 times the price of a 9.5. Now, if we're going down, so Black Label, $13,600. A BGS 10 sold on Buy It Now August 13th for $5,500. That might be a little bit of a iffy number because that's just what somebody was willing to pay for right now. Is it worth that right now? Probably not, but it is definitely well under the 13,600 black label, because there is a BGS 10 up for sale right now for $9,999, and it hasn't gotten popped. And that's right there by itself a $3,600 difference. So black label 13.6, BGS 10 5.5, and then PSA 10 Luca Prism Green PSA 10 sold September 21st for $2,443, and a BGS 9.5, that's 1.9 and 3.95s, not the Gem Mint Plus, sold for $1,495 on September 14th. So you can see that it clearly goes black label 10. PSA 10 is half the price of a BGS 10 for this specific Luca, though that's probably a little bit washy because that was a buy it now and not an auction. And then we've got the BGS 9.5, sold a week earlier than the PSA 10, and yet it was $1,000 cheaper. And so you can tell that here, most cards don't get BGS 10s, and if you're not going to get it and you think it's a 9.5, you might as well send it into PSA because you're leaving money on the table, thousands of dollars. Now, there is something to be said about BGS grading restrictions compared to PSA. A lot of cards that come back PSA 9, PSA 8 have been coming back BGS 9.5s. So there's a little bit of a lenient grading in BGS right now. It might not always stay that way, but for right now, BGS 10, Black Label, BGS 10, PSA 10, PSA or BGS 9.5, and you can see that in the prices. And then in Tier 4, the PSA 9 Luca Prism Base, because I couldn't find greens for these. Well, I could find a green for PSA 9, but not BGS 9. The Prism Base, $412, and I took the average of 13 sales over the 23rd and 24th of September. So the average of 13 sales over those 2 days came out to $412. And the reason I took those average sales was because the last two sales of a BGS 9 Prism Base for Luca were on the 24th and 23rd of September. And the average of those two sales was $372. So even there, comparable grades, PSA 9 to BGS 9, and yet the difference in price was $40 there, which is still money left on the table if you're grading with BGS compared to PSA. So there you have it. Goes Black Label, BGS 10, PSA 10, BGS 9.5, PSA 9, BGS 9. Of course, one more thing to point out is that the PSA 10 and the BGS 9.5, I mentioned at the start, if this was a true Gem Plus instead of a Gem Mint, the price would be higher than $14.95, but I do not think it takes over the $24.43 of the PSA 10, so you're still better off grading PSA 10, though they are much more strict nowadays in giving those out. Anyways, this is just a high overview of the grading discrepancies in comparable grades. Hopefully you can understand now the differences between a PSA 10 and a BGS 9.5, a BGS 10 and a PSA 10, and a PSA 9 and a BGS 9. Anyways, thank you for listening to this SlabStox 101, and I will talk to you again next video.